So this is going to be a comprehensive step-by-step video that shows you exactly how to amend your company's articles of association if your company is a private limited company registered in the UK. To make things as easy as possible, I'll be doing two main things. Number one, I'll be sharing my screen so you can see exactly what to do step by step. And number two, I'll link in the description below free templates and resources that you can use and download right now. If you want, you can download the templates right now so you can follow along by watching the video. Before we get started, let me just very quickly introduce myself. I'm Malcolm Zoppi, an English qualified solicitor and the managing director of Reconvene Zoppi, my firm. And my goal on YouTube is to make business law as easy as possible for entrepreneurs like you. Also, make sure to stay until the end of the video to learn about which documents you need to submit to Companies House to comply with the Companies Act 2006. Great, so you should now be able to see my screen, and this is the step-by-step guide, and we have 10 main steps, starting with step number one, which is to find and amend your company's articles of association. Now, if your company has the model articles, which are the articles of association that every company has unless they've amended them or uploaded a new set, then you can just use document A. Again, this is linked in the description below. And this is the template or model articles of association provided by the UK government. Now that you have your articles of association, you'll need to make the amendments as needed. So for example, you might be adding different classes of shares, or you might be adding drag along or tag along rights. Whatever it is, you'll need to add them to the articles right now. Great, so once you've amended your articles of association, we can move on to step number two, which is to prepare the notice of a board meeting. The reason why we're doing this is because there is a specific corporate procedure that needs to be followed to make sure that the amendments to your articles of association are legally valid under the Companies Act 2006. Broadly speaking, the procedure entails, number one, having a board meeting where the directors of the company vote on whether they would approve the amendments to the articles of association. This is then followed by the voting of the shareholders to also approve those amendments. Now, there are two main ways to get the shareholders to approve. Number one is at a general or extraordinary meeting. So this is where the shareholders actually meet together and vote. There you need 75% of the shareholders to be in agreement if doing on a show of hands, which is the default. If instead you elect or you decide to do it on a poll vote, which is according to the amount of shares that each shareholder holds, then that can be done as well. And again, the threshold is 75% of the voting shares. The second main way to do it, which in theory can be quicker because you don't need to give notice to the shareholders of a shareholder meeting, is to do it by what is called a written resolution. Put simply, is whereby you have a document and the shareholders can sign the document if they agree with it, and as soon as the requisite threshold, the 75%, is met, then the resolution is passed. In this example, we'll be using the written resolution because in my opinion, it is quicker and you have less formalities to follow. For example, you don't again need to give that notice and you would need to check your articles of association to check how many days notice. It simplifies things. Okay. So coming back to step number two, you will want to use document B. This is what document B looks like. Again, it's linked in the description below. It is the notice of the board meeting. And to make things as easy as possible, I've created this table right here, which is the only thing that you would need to amend. Now, the way it works is that we have a term here on the left column that is used in the body of the notice. And then on the right, we have the definition for that term. I've also left some drafting instructions to give you an idea of what information you need to put for each of the defined terms. Now, this notice needs to be drafted for each of the directors of the company. And once you've drafted, you will need to send, but I'll tell you about that later. Very briefly, if you're a private limited company in the UK, you need to be keeping statutory registers. Statutory registers are like spreadsheets and they record important information about the company, such as who are the directors, their names, residential and correspondence address, who are the shareholders, and who are the people with significant control. If your company doesn't have statutory registers, please do not panic. It is unfortunately quite often the case with many small companies, but to rectify this, I will link right now a video right here. And if you click on it and look in the description of that video, you will find a link to download free template statutory registers for you to use. Great, coming back to the step-by-step guide, we can now move on to step number 3, which is to prepare the board minutes. And this is going to be done using document C. This is what document C looks like. And again, we have the table where we have the defined term on the left and the definition on the right. Again, this is to make things as easy as possible so that in theory, if everything is smooth, we don't have to amend the actual contents of the board minutes because unfortunately they tend to be a little bit more complex. So once you've completed these board minutes, you can go back to the step-by-step guide and move on to step number 4, which is to prepare the written resolution, which is what we talked about before, the document that the shareholders will sign to agree to the amendments of the articles. For this, we will use document D. This is what document D looks like. And again, we see another beautiful table with defined terms on the left and the actual definitions that you will need to complete on the right. Again, as always, ideally, the actual body of the resolution doesn't need to be amended. Thankfully, it's quite short this time. And you'll want to ensure that you insert the name of each of the shareholders of the company and invite them to sign in their corresponding space. We also have included in this template some notes that explain to shareholders how they might want to deliver their agreement to the written resolution. So if you're sending the written resolution out for signature via DocuSign, then you might not really need these options right here. You'll only upload one document onto DocuSign, drag and drop the signatures, and that's about it. But if that's not the case, and you're sending it, for example, by post or by email, then you'll need to send each of the shareholders this resolution right here, ask them for their signature, and ideally, just like we did with the notice for the board of directors, you'll want to be sending this written resolution to the shareholders using the address that is registered in your statutory registers. Amazing. Coming back to the step-by-step guide, we can now move on to step number 5, which is to call a board meeting using document B. So you will have prepared the document. Now we can actually send that out once everything is ready to the board of directors. Then quickly we move on to step number 6, which is to hold the board meeting. So you can do this either in person at a physical location, or you can do it via video conferencing, for example on Zoom or Google Meet, or even just by telephone. If you do it in different ways, you'll want to ensure that the board minutes reflect how that specific director attended the board meeting. For example, here you'll need to say Alex Jones attended by telephone. Also, now that we're on this topic, in the section present, this is where you list the directors of the company that actually are present at the meeting. And by actually present also includes video conferencing. Then here we include, if you want, apologies, which is directors who were not able to attend the board meeting. Sometimes people also like to have additional people, such as their lawyers or accountants, to be present at the board meeting. The benefit tends to be that they are able to provide advice to the board. If that is the case, you'll want to add another row below here, and you'll want to title it in attendance, and then list their names and which company they're from. Now, whilst you're holding the board meeting, you will need to adjourn it to make sure that you can circulate, send out the written resolution using document D, which is the one that you will have prepared. Just to show you exactly when you need to adjourn the meeting, it is right here. When you are at this point, the chairman will say, let's adjourn, let's allow the shareholders to vote. Even if the shareholders are the same people as the directors of the company, it still needs to be done. At that point, you send out the written resolution, you ask everyone to sign. Ideally, that happens immediately. Maybe even if people are present, they can sign it right there and then. And then the chair again reconvenes the meeting, so brings everyone back, announces that the written resolution has been passed, so everyone has been in agreement. And then we can move on according to the step-by-step guide. So we've done this. We've done number 8 as well. The chairman will then need to sign the board minutes right here. There's document C. Now, before we move on to discussing which documents and how you need to submit these documents to Companies House to make sure that this whole process is actually legally valid, make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel because I will continue to give you pragmatic, practical, and to the point legal information and templates. Also, if you want a qualified corporate solicitor to assist you with your corporate procedures, make sure to reach out via my website, which is linked in the description below. Amazing. So very quickly moving on to step number 10, which is the last step. You need to file the following documents to Companies House, which is the written resolution. So this one right here, document D, once it has been signed by everyone, and the amended articles of association. To do this, you'll need to type into Google upload documents to Companies House. This is the link that you will be able to find. And then you click on start now, and you'll need to use your company's information to access your account and then submit the relevant documents. Amazing, you've successfully amended your company's articles of association, but keep in mind that as part of running a company, inevitably you will have share transfers. In anticipation of that, make sure to watch this video right here that tells you exactly how to transfer shares of a private limited company in compliance with the Companies Act. Watch it right here. Thanks for watching.